Okay, geometry, I'm recording this first little bit of the review because I'm going home. Chapter 1, I'm just going to start and work from front to back. There are 45 questions and we'll have 3 days to review. So I'm going to do about 15 questions today. Hopefully this video will be a little bit shorter, but there are some problems that take a little bit of time, like 6 and 7. Well, actually just 6 is going to be maybe a little bit trickier, okay? So as I write, you write too. Make sure that if you have any questions, I know I can't answer them in class right now, but I just hiccuped, put like a star by it, and then I will come back and you can ask me tomorrow, okay? So number 1 is just asking for, like, if this is my 3-dimensional figure, okay, we have a plane intersecting like another plane. So like think of this as like pages of a book that are unfolding. Like here's the spine of the book, okay? If you can see that in 3D. It says name the intersection where planes P and N intersect. P is this top plane, N is the bottom plane. That's like where the spine is located, okay? And they intersect right here. And like, what do we name that is what they're asking. So that is a line, and you can either call it line AB, you can call it AB with a line over top of it, you could call it BA with a line over top of it, or line BA, whatever. The one thing that you want to make sure is that, like, if you're talking about a line, like let's say this line right here, you do not call it line DEF. You only name a plane with one or with two, or a line with 2 letters. A plane is 3 letters. Okay, so you would call this line DE or line EF or something like that, right? Just with 2 letters, okay? So just FYI, that's a thing. So any of those answers would be fine for number 1, okay? Number 2, you're looking at chunks of a segment. So I have 3 points. From here to here is 8. From here to here is 2x plus 7. The whole thing is 4x plus 3. So this is something called the segment addition postulate. Okay, and segment addition postulate basically says I can have 2 smaller segments that add together to make the larger segment, okay? The 2 smaller chunks are 8 and 2x plus 7. So 8 plus 2x plus 7. That's going to be equal to 4x plus 3, okay? So if I combine these two, I have 2x plus 15 equals 4x plus 3. And then I'm just going to, like, put stuff together. So I'm going to subtract the 2x, and I'm going to subtract the 3 at the same time. So I have 12 equals 2x, and x would be 6. Now, always, always, always check to make sure that is what you are trying to find, because it's not. Find the length of xz is what it says. So xz is from here to here. So I'm going to plug that back into the 4x plus 3. 4 times 6 plus 3 is 24 plus 3, so 27 is the length that I want, okay? That's the length of xz, okay? Next one is distance formula, okay? So finding the distance. Distance formula is this guy, okay? And actually, like, the full formula is x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1, right, inside of those. I don't ever use the formula when I do it. I just, like, look to see how far apart, you know, because, like, we save time rather than writing out all of our pieces. So I look and say -3 minus, like, from -3 to 4, how far of a distance is that, which is exactly like doing x squared, or x2 minus x1. So -3 to 4, that's 7 units apart. 1 to 4 is 3 units apart. That would be like doing my y's, right? Like subtracting my y values. Okay, 7 squared is 49, 3 squared is 9, and that is going to be the square root of 58. I don't have it. Hold on, let me see if I can have it. Oh, look at you. Thanks, Kyle. Square root of 58 is, we'll go 1 decimal place, so 7.6, approximately 7.6. Okay, so I don't care if you leave it as the square root of 58, or you can put it as 7.6, whichever one you prefer, okay? I'm kind of making a mess of my work already here, so sorry about that. I'll try to stay within my lines, okay? So number 4 is the midpoint formula, okay? And finding the midpoint is like finding the average. So what I'm doing is, if I'm trying to find the average, I'm trying to find a coordinate point, but I'm trying to average these 2 coordinates together. And to average means you add them and divide by 2. So I'm taking -2 plus 5, and I'm dividing by 2, and negative 1 plus negative 4 divided by 2, okay? All right, this right here is going to be 3 over 2, and negative 1 plus a negative 4 is negative 5 over 2. Okay, you can leave your answer like that, or you can make it as a decimal. 3 over 2 is 1.5, and negative 5 over 2 is negative 2.5, and that's what he becomes. Okay, so you could leave your answer like this as well. I don't care, either one. Okay, all right, I know I'm kind of going fast, but make sure you're putting a star next to these if you don't understand, or like backing up or watching that problem over again, whatever you need. Okay, all right, there are some really important information in here, so we got to read this all the way through and then look at the diagram and see what they're saying. We've got, like, I think this is 2x plus 6. Okay, this is 3y plus 1. And just so you know what they are pointing to, they're talking about the segments. So, like, this right here, from here to here is 3y minus 1. From here to here is 3y plus 1, etc., right? That's what those segments are, okay? That's what they're talking about. It says find the value of x and y. Okay, UV, this guy, is bisecting TW, okay? It's bisecting TW, which means that this guy is like the knife, and it's cutting this in half, okay? Now, that means that the left side, this guy, is the same as this guy. If this cuts him in half, those two sides are the same. Now, what is not true, according to this, is that this side is the same as this one. We do not necessarily know that the top and bottom are the same, because if he's bisecting, he could bisect like this, where this side is the same as this side, but this is not technically the same as the bottom. So it doesn't bisect like both segments, so the top and bottom are not necessarily the same, just the two sides are the same, that we know of right now. Okay, so let's see what we've got. And then it says UV is 40. So the distance from here to here is 40 units, okay? So I'm going to write out what I know, and then we will solve this thing, okay? So I know that this guy is equal to this guy. 3x minus 2 is equal to 3y plus 1. That's something that I know. Now, I can't solve for x and y at the same time, which kind of makes that a pain in the butt, but, you know, whatever. That's something that I know. I also know that this whole thing is 40, so 3y minus 1 plus 2x plus 6 equals 40. I know that those two added together, that's that segment addition postulate. So this guy plus this guy equals 40, okay? So let's see, I'm trying to think of how we want to do this. We've got two equations, and let's do this, okay? I'm going to solve this one for x, okay? So if I get the x by itself, I'm going to add the 2 over. So I have 3x equals 3y plus 3 if I add that 2 over. Then if I divide by 3, x equals y plus 1. Okay, so that's what my x is going to be, all right? Down here, I have a bunch of junk, and this one says 3y plus 2x. I'm going to put those together in order. And then I have 1 and 6, which makes 5, equals 40. Okay, negative 1 and 6 equals, makes 5. If I bump this 5 to the other side, I have, I'm going to go over here, 3y plus 2x equals 35. Okay, so again, I was just simplifying this equation. All right, now I know that x is equal to this junk, so I'm going to shove that in there, and I have 3y plus 2 times y plus 1, that's what x is, equals 35. Okay, then I'm going to distribute the 2 through. So 3y plus 2y plus 2 equals 35. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff going on. All right, we're getting close. I feel like I'm working backwards. Sorry. 3y plus 2y is 5y plus 2 equals 35. And then I can subtract the 2 to make 33 and divide by 5. Okay, that does come out as a decimal. 33 divided by 5 is 6.6 if you put it as a decimal. So there's my y value. And then the really nice thing is that I know that, I know from right here, let me swoop that up a different direction. I know that x is just y plus 1. So x equals 6.6 plus another 1, which is 7.6. That's what x is. So those are my two values of x and y. Okay, that was kind of a lot, but hopefully it made sense. All right. Number 6, it says find the coordinates of C on AB. A is right here. I'm going to put the coordinates. He is -4, -6. B is at 5, 6. And there is a line connecting them, okay? And I want to go 2/3 of the distance from A. So this is my start, and my end is at B, okay? 2/3 of the distance, which means I've gone the majority of the way, right? 2/3 of a distance means like I'm cutting this into thirds, and this is 1/3, this is 2/3. So I'm going to end up like here-ish somewhere, okay? Now, the way that we do this, 2/3 of the distance, we have to figure out, like in the x direction, how much am I going, and in the y direction, how much am I going, okay? And then we take 2/3 of that, all right? So going from -4 to 5, I'm going a positive 9 units, right? I'm going to the right 9 units. From -6 to +6, I'm going up 12 units in the y direction, okay? I don't want to go that much. I only want to go 2/3. So I'm going to multiply by 2/3. 2/3 of 9 is 6, and 2/3 of 12 is 8. Okay, if you figure that out in your calculator, if you want to do that. Okay, so now I don't want to go all 9 units over. I only want to go 6 units over. Okay, if I'm starting at -4 and I'm going 6 units over, it's like I'm adding 6. So -4 plus 6 is going to land me at 2, something. Okay. To this coordinate, I want to add 8. I want to go 8 units up instead of 12 units up. So going 8 units up from 6, that's going to land me at 2, 2. So I'm like right here. I'm a little bit shy of what I said I was, okay? But 2, 2 is where it's going to land me, okay? So that might be one that's a little bit trickier if you want to put a star by it, and I can go through that again tomorrow. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but how far are you going over? How far are you going up? I want 2/3 of that, and then only go over that much and up that much, okay? 7, I want to find a point such that the ratio from R to G, okay, R is right here, G is, G is my point. Okay, so RG to GU. So here's my start and here's my end. Okay, start and end. All right, G is the point that I'm putting on there. I want it to be 3 to 2, okay? Now, when it says 3 to 2, that doesn't mean 3 halves. That means 3/5. 3 to 2 means like I have a segment that's 1, 2, 3 here and 2 here. So 3 chunks here, 2 chunks here. So I'm going like 3/5 of the whole distance, all right? So I'm going to first find the distance between R and U. R is at -1, U is at 9. So if I try to find how far apart they are, those are 10 units apart. And I only want to go 3/5 of that. So I'm going to take him times 3/5, and that's going to be 6 units. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that lands me on S. So S is the same point as G, and G will be at 5. Okay, it'll be like on top of S. Coincidentally, it's on top of S, okay? So that was another one that's kind of like this, but it's only for like one direction, okay? I want to go 3/5 of the distance. But the kicker there is if it says 3 to 2, that means 3/5 of the distance, okay? So be careful of that, all right? Number 8, find X and Y for this diagram. All right, X is here, and let's do that first. I see that that is pointing to this angle right here, okay? And I know that if this is 90, these are on a straight line, that is called a linear pair, which means that this would have to also be 90 because they have to add up to be 180. So what I can do then is just say this guy equals 90 and solve, okay? So I'm going to add the 24 over, and this is not going to come out nicely. 10x equals 114, and then if you divide by 10, you're just moving the decimal place. So x is 11.4. is what he will be, okay? That's X. Now I have to solve for Y. All right, Y is up here, and there's only one Y. 8Y minus 16 is this angle right here, okay? Now if we look at this diagram just a little bit, I have 2 lines going straight through here, and straight through here. And this angle right here should be a vertical angle to that one, right? So I should be able to say that 8y minus 16 is equal to 72 because those are vertical angles. I'm going to put a little note here. Vertical angles. Okay, and then we just solve. So I'm going to add the 16. 8y equals, that would be 88. Hey, that comes out nice. Divide by 8y is 11. Okay, now I know I'm going through these kind of fast, so if you need to pause or do whatever, you know, you just do whatever you need. But there's that. Okay, all right, angle 2, we're getting close. Do you need me? No? Angle 2 is this angle right here. Okay, how in the heck and Bob are we going to find angle 2? Well, this is 40, right? Okay, that's what they said. That 40 is it's kind of hard to see that goes to that angle because it's so far down, but that's what 40 is. Okay, I'm going to pick on this line right here. And I know that all of these angles, there's 3 of them, this angle, and this angle, those are going to all add up to be 180, right? They live on a straight line. So if this guy's 72 and this guy's 40, I can figure out what this one is by the fact that they live on a straight line. So 72 plus 40 is like 112. And I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract 112. And that is like 68 degrees. So he would have to be 68 in order for these 3 to add up to be 180. So that's what the measure of angle 2 is. I'm going to write these over here. X equals 11.4, Y equals 11. They're a little bit more condensed, but all my work is over here. So, okay, good. Happy with that? You can't respond to those questions. I don't know why I'm asking. All right, moving on. Number 10. Find the circumference and area. Okay, write these down. Circumference is 2 pi r. Area is pi r squared. Now, the problem with this is I don't know the radius. Yikes. Yikes. And I don't really know where these points are located. They're kind of fuzzy, so write these in better. This is the point 3, negative 2. That's where the center of the circle is. And over here, the other point is at negative 2, comma 2. So the only thing that I need for my formulas over here is I need to know what the radius is. So how the heck do we find the radius? Like this length here, that's what the radius is. That's r. How do I find that if I'm given 2 points? Well, let's do another distance formula. So I've got this going on, and I'm going to look and say how far apart are negative 2 and 3, and that's 5. How far apart are 2 and negative 2, and that is 4. And this is 25, and this is 16, and that is the square root of 41. Okay, so I'm just going to call it the square root of 41. Actually, let's find a decimal for the square root of 41. 6.4. Thank you for that. 6.4. Okay. All right, so that's my radius, and then I'm going to plop him in. So 2 times pi times 6.4, and pi times 6.4 squared. Thank you, sir. Okay. 6.4 times 2 times pi. And make sure you use your pi button in your calculator. And I got something of the 40.2 nature. And we don't have units, so I'm just going to say units. And circumference is just in units. 6.4 squared times pi is 128.7. This is in units squared because it's area. On the test, I won't only ask you one or the other. I won't ask you both, okay? But I wanted to ask you both on the test just so that you are prepared for those, okay? All right, 11, we're getting closer. Find the area and the perimeter. All right, on the test, I won't only ask you one or the other. I won't ask you both. Area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height, however you want to say it. Perimeter is just adding all 3 sides together. Okay, so I need the base, which is this guy, and the height, which is this guy, and I don't know that. So this is the tricky part to this. I need to know the height, and it's a right triangle, so what I can do is do the Pythagorean theorem. Let's call this side B, and this height has to be C, so this is A. 9 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared. Okay, 9 squared is 81. B squared, 225 is what 15 is. If I subtract 81, I think this comes out nicely. B squared equals 225 minus 81 is, I can't think right now, 144. Yeah, 144. And if I take the square root, b would be 12. Okay, so I have my height now is 12. And now I can do my formulas. So base times height, base is 9, height is 12, and I'm going to divide that by 2. 9 times 12 is 108. Let me check that. 12 times 9 is 108 divided by 2 is 54. And area is in centimeters squared. Okay? For perimeter, we just add all of them together. So 9, 12, 15, 9 plus 12 plus 15, and that is 36 centimeters. And that is all for that one. Okay? All right. 12. Find the volume and surface area. All right. I don't expect you to remember these. That's why I gave you, if you look at the very, very, very back of your review, all the three-dimensional stuff is right here. Okay? So we are doing a prism. And so the volume of a prism is capital BH. We'll talk about what that means. And then the surface area, I don't know why they represent it as T, like total surface area, something like that, is capital P times H plus 2 capital B. Okay, so let me write that down. Capital P times H plus 2 capital B, and this is just capital B times H. Anytime you see capital letters, that means of the base. So this is the area of the base. Okay, or in other words, area of the base would be 12 times 8. Volume, you might say, is just like length times width times height, right? Just those three dimensions together, which is capital B times H. So 12 times 8 is how I get the area of the base, times 6. 12, 8, 6, I don't know. 12 times 8 times 6 is 576, and that is in inches cubed for volume, okay? All right, P, capital P, is the perimeter of the base. So it's like this length plus this length plus this length plus this length. And these are 12 and this is 8 because they're like the opposites. Okay, so 12 plus 8 plus 8 is 40. That's my capital P. The height is 6 plus 2 capital B is the area of the base, which is 12 times 8, which is 96. And then I just solve from there. 40 times 6 is 240. 2 times 96 is 192, and I add those together. And that is 432 inches squared is surface area. Okay? All right, next couple are going to go fast. We have 3 left. Make a conjecture, and then find the next term in the sequence. Okay? So the conjecture, I'm going from negative 11 to negative 7 to negative 3 to 1 to 5. I am adding 4 each time. So the conjecture is add 4 each time. And then the next term in the sequence, if I add 4, would be 9. Those ones are going to be kind of nice, okay? 14 is saying, what is the truth value? So is it true or false if this and this is true? So I'm going to look at them individually, okay? This guy, is it true that the square root of 16 is negative 4? Technically, no. If the square root is already there and we didn't put the square root, that is technically false because it should be a positive 4. On the test, I'll make sure it's like clear cut, you know, like there's no question that it's true or false. This one might be kind of tricky, but I'm going to say false because the square root is already there. And usually when the square root's already there, we just assume that it is a positive 4. Okay, so false and 2 is less than 2, which is false as well. So is it true that false and false? So basically what I'm saying is this and this true. Well, it's not. Neither one of them is true, so the whole thing is false. So that and that. That whole thing would be false. Okay? Let's see another one of those. Suppose P is true and Q is false, okay? These little guys, they want us to find the truth value of this whole thing, okay? This guy means not P, okay? So if P is true, then not P, that whole thing would be false. The V means or, okay? And then not Q. If Q is false, then not Q would be true. So what we do is we say, is this or this true? Yes, so the whole thing is true, okay? If that was an and, if this guy said and instead, is this guy and this guy true? No, that would be false, okay? So just as a little side note, and is a little bit different than or, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop there, and that's it, and we will pick up the rest of it tomorrow, okay?